They will utilize their cruelest weapons. They will exploit their most mysterious powers as they create an epic non-stop action-adventure movie that will challenge your senses. And they will do all this for you in 3D this summer. Metalstorm, the Destruction of Jared-Syn in 3D.
Welcome to Film and Page. I'm Dominic, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the 1983 film Metalstorm, the Destruction of Jared-Syn. And this movie stars Jeffrey Byron as Dojin, Kelly Preston as Diana, Michael Preston as Jared-Syn, Tim Thomerson as Rhodes, Richard Moll as Hurok, and R. David Smith as Ball. And it's directed by Charles Band and produced by Albert Band International Productions, Inc. Now, I'll give a quick breakdown of the plot before I get into discussing the film. So this movie takes place, the story takes place on another world. It's not Earth, and it's some unspecified point in the future. And on this world, it's kind of like, almost like a little bit fantastical. There's technology and there's some sorcery going on this planet at the same time. And now on this world, there is a warlord named Jared-Syn, and he uses a crystal to drain the life force from people and then transfer that life force into a larger crystal. And he's amassing all this life force energy. Once it gets so much, he's going to use that power to take over all the lands and become the absolute ruler. And now one of the victims of his life-draining techniques is Kelly Preston, who plays the character Diana. Diana's father ends up being one of the victims. Him and his daughter, they're working a mine when some of the followers of Jared-Syn come across them, and they're being led by Ball, who is Jared-Syn's son. And Ball is like a mostly cybernetic being. And so they kill Kelly Preston's father, and how they actually kill people is Ball sprays them with this green liquid that shoots from his mechanical arm, and then that transfers the person into another dimension where Jared-Syn then drains the life force from them with a crystal and they die. So that's how that's done. And then the character of Dojin finds Kelly Preston, and she explains how her father was killed and all that by Jared-Syn, and then he's also out to stop Jared-Syn, so he proposes that they work together. Shortly thereafter, she's then captured by Jared-Syn and held prisoner, where then Dojin has to go and then seek the help of a man named Rhodes, who's played by Tim Thomerson. And then together, they have to go on a quest to stop Jared-Syn. So that's the plot in as condensed as I can make it. So now, some of my history with this film, I want to talk about that for a bit. Because I saw this movie like a really long time ago, in like 84, 85, somewhere in there. This movie was on First Choice Superstation, the movie channel. Now, if you don't know what that is, years and years ago, this was like a extra add-on channel that you could pay a little bit more for when you had basic cable, and it was a movie channel, and they would play a set roster of movies each month. So one month you would get one set of roster of movies that would play throughout the month, and then the next month it would be a new roster of movies. So Metalstorm was in one of the rosters this month that we had the station. And so you could get to see the same movie like multiple times. So every time Jared-Syn came on, I was glued to the TV and watched it. And I absolutely loved this movie when I was a kid. I just couldn't get enough of it. Every time it was on, I was right there. And so I have a lot of nostalgia attached to this film. Now, but when you see stuff as a kid and then you grow up, like your memories as a child kind of plays tricks on you sometimes. Because years later down the road, like in my early 20s, it had been probably 15, 16 years or so since I seen Jared-Syn as like from the age of 5 or 6 up until my early 20s. And so there used to be a video chain here in my area called Video Update, and they would always have a deal, I think it was every Tuesday, where all their older movies were 50 cents each. So I went, and they had a lot of old sci-fi movies there, so one of them was Metalstorm. So I rented it, brought it home, and I was expecting it to be like up there with like RoboCop or the Terminator, something like that, because it seemed so awesome in my memory when I used to watch it as a child. And then I watched it in my early 20s, rewatched it again, and thought, holy cow, this was crap. Was totally disappointed in it. It just didn't hold up over time, and I was like, man, this is a terrible movie. And then, but here lately, I've been watching a lot of B sci-fi movies. A lot that had Tim Thomerson in them, like the Transfer movies. I reviewed all of them and stuff like that. So I started to get a craving to rewatch Metalstorm. And so I was waiting for it to pop up on Tubi or Amazon Prime, because a lot of these sci-fi B movies have been popping up on these streaming services. And it just hasn't been popping up. And so I wanted to watch it so bad, I actually just broke down and bought the Blu-ray on Amazon and paid like 22 bucks Canadian for it. But the Blu-ray is really nice. It comes with 2 discs. One is actually a 3D Blu-ray. So if you have a 3D capable TV and stuff like that, you can watch this movie in 3D, because originally Metalstorm was a 3D release when it came out in the early 80s, when it came out in theaters and stuff. That's what it was marketed as, a 3D movie, and that was the big draw to it. So this time going in to watch the movie, I went in with a different mind. I went in knowing that it was a B sci-fi movie, and it was going to be in the ranks of a lot of these B sci-fi movies that I've been watching lately and talking about on my channel. So my expectations were very low going in. And with that in mind, I actually really enjoyed this film, and I had a lot of fun watching it. It was like a really good piece of escapism. And some of the things, though, actually I think were really well done in this film. I thought the makeup was actually really well done, especially on the character of Hurok, the Cyclops character played by Richard Mole, and Ball, the cyborg guy. For a B movie, that was really good. The makeup was really fantastic and well done, I thought. And the other thing that I never knew about this movie, because I watched the special features and they kind of explain how they got some of the actors, they interview some of the actors, and how they got the whole ball rolling on this film. Actually, the character of Ball was played by an amputee, or a guy with one arm, which I didn't know that. I thought it was the guy had 2 arms and it was just like some kind of like a prosthetic, the metal arm they had over his real arm. But I didn't know it was actually a guy that only had 1 arm, and that's how they got the mechanical arm effect. So that was interesting to find that out. And so all those things actually look really good in the film. And I would say the weakest part of this movie is probably not special effects, probably the story. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But now the thing about this movie is there was a lot of movies that came out like this, that had like this post-apocalyptic feel to it, and had like a lot of these like guys driving around in these vehicles, like because at the time when the Road Warrior came out, it spun off a bunch of copycat films. Like so many of them came out. I remember seeing quite a few of them when I was a kid, and a lot of them are really bad. I would have to say this is probably one of the better ones. So this is what this is. It's a Road Warrior, and they even admitted that, filmmakers in the special features. They admitted, yeah, we were going to go for like some kind of a Road Warrior knockoff film. But the difference is this one has like some fantasy elements in it and science fiction. So that kind of makes it more unique than other entries into, I guess, the Road Warrior knockoff genre. I don't know what else to call it. But yeah, no, it was a very fun movie to watch. Now, comparing it to one of Charles Band's other movies, Trancers, that I watched recently, now just putting like nostalgia aside and stuff, I think Trancers is a much better science fiction film and a much better movie than Metalstorm, because the story is more solid and more tight. Where Metalstorm, I think there's a lot of areas that could have made it a lot better. One thing right off the bat, now I'm going to talk spoilers for anyone who cares. The end of the movie, Jared-Syn actually isn't destroyed. He actually escapes. And the big climax of the movie was Dojin chases Jared-Syn on a sky cycle. So they're both on sky cycles, and Dojin's chasing after him. And then Jared-Syn prays to the dark gods to open up some kind of a weird dimensional portal where he escapes through. And then Dojin goes back empty-handed and explains, well, Jared-Syn has escaped. He's probably on some other world somewhere. But I still have to find him, and I'm not going to give up till I find him. So it's implied that he's going to go to another planet, find him, and then they're going to have a sequel film. Which, in the special features, they explain there was a planned sequel to this movie that would have involved giant mech robots. So that was kind of interesting on how they were going to do that, or maybe that's the world Jared-Syn escaped to had these giant mechs on it. But they never ended up making that movie. And the giant mech idea, they actually later on down the road turned that into robot jocks. So there's that, and I think the whole relationship between the character of Diana was kind of wasted. I think that she shouldn't have been kidnapped. I thought it would have been better if she worked with Dojin, the other character, and they were like a partnership throughout the whole movie, because that's where it seemed like it was going. Then all of a sudden she's captured, and then she's just basically like a damsel in distress, and she's captured by Jared-Syn, and then like I kind of thought her character was wasted. And then they bring in Tim Thomerson, that he ends up being his partner, but it would have been cool if you had the three of them working together. I thought that would have been a lot better, because that's one thing about Trancers that I liked was the relationship between Tim Thomerson and Helen Hunt in that film, which they could have done something similar like that too with Kelly Preston and Jeffrey Byron. Now, as for acting goes, Tim Thomerson's really good. Same thing with Richard Mall, but Jeffrey Byron, same thing with Kelly Preston. They're not really that good compared to the other actors in this movie. Like Jeffrey Byron, his acting is almost like he's overacts. Some of his expressions is almost comical. The way he reacts to some of the things in this film. And the other thing about this movie, it is fairly short. It's like 85 minutes, this film. And I think they actually kind of stretched it a little bit with the car chase scenes they were talking about in the special features, because the car chase scenes are really slow in this movie, and they said it looked bad. I thought it looked okay, but it was like they had really slow moving car chase scenes, but I guess their intention was to probably speed it up later on, so it looked like the vehicles were going faster than they actually were, but then they wanted to stretch out the run time, so they didn't. So you kind of have these slow going chase scenes and stuff like that. And the other thing is the movie was filmed in Vasquez Rocks, which I thought were pretty cool. And there's a lot of sci-fi movies that were filmed there, and it's just always looks like a great location to film a movie, because just the way the rocks are and the brush and everything, it kind of has that fantastical look to it. And that's one thing about this movie, is the setting where they filmed it really elevates the film, really brings it up, because it's really convincing that they're in this other world or on this other planet. You kind of get that feel that you are on another world, and it kind of really helps with the suspension of disbelief. And now the other thing I want to talk about is Richard Mall as Hurok. He does a great job in this movie as the Cyclops character, and I wish there was more of him in the film. That's the other thing, the drawback to the movie, where it's so short. You have characters that you want to know more about, but they get like limited screen time because the movie's so short. So if they had to make the movie a little bit longer, it would have been cool if, as they were going on their quest to stop Jared-Syn, they would pick up these side characters along the way, and then the final showdown would have been a group of them against Jared-Syn. So you would have had like Rhodes and Hurok and Kelly Preston, all these characters along the way. I think it would have made for a better movie, more interesting. And then, of course, Richard Mall, he went on to become really famous in the 80s. He went on to star in Night Court, that sitcom, for years and years and years. And that's what most people know him from. He played the character of Bull on that one. They explain it was actually because of this movie Metalstorm he got casted in Night Court, because Metalstorm, they wanted him to shave his head. He didn't want to at first, but then they gave him an extra $500, so he did it. And then when he went to his audition for Night Court, they actually loved the look of him with a shaved head so much. That's how he got the part. And so he, in the special features, he's always grateful to Metalstorm because it got him that role. And then he went on and he did Night Court for years. And then, of course, Kelly Preston, I know her mostly. I've seen her in some other movies besides this one, but she was married to John Travolta, and then unfortunately recently passed away from breast cancer. So that's always sad. And the movie, though, I have to say, it's a pretty fun movie to watch. And if you like these kind of like sci-fi, post-apocalyptic Mad Max ripoff films, Road Warrior ripoff movies, this is a pretty good one. There's another one I've got in my DVD collection too, called I believe Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. That's another one that's kind of a Road Warrior ripoff too. And funny enough, that was on first choice the same time as Metalstorm, so I was getting to see both of these movies at the same time. There was 3 movies actually that stand out that I watched a lot while we had it. I think they're all on at the same time. Was this one, Metalstorm, Space Hunter, The Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, and the movie Crawl. So eventually I'm going to get in and review the other ones down the road at some point as well. But yeah, definitely check this one out. The only thing, it's not on any of the streaming services. I had to buy the Blu-ray of it off Amazon.ca, but I'm expecting eventually, this is the type of movie that Tubi usually has, so I'm expecting it to eventually pop up on there at some point. But if you get a chance, definitely check this one out. So that's everything I got to say in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I will see you at the next one. I'd like to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I appreciate you all in helping this channel grow. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded.